Hey everyone, welcome back to the Climbing Nomads YouTube channel. Thought we'd take the opportunity to do another little gear review and talk about one of our other favourite bits of kit we've been using recently, which is the big Snap Guts Pad. So we've had this pad about 6 months, so we've been putting it through its paces and thought we'd talk to you guys about it a little bit. So it's got really big Velcro chunky straps that hold it all together with some nice solid metal buckles, so they won't break if you do accidentally stand on them or anything like that. No plastic clips on this. When it opens out, you've got a quite a good sized landing area. It's not the biggest, there's definitely some bigger bouldering pads out there. Still a pretty reasonable size landing area. Good balance between offering a good landing zone whilst being still small enough to kind of carry without too much issue. So they've used some pretty heavy duty fabrics on there, so they've got really tough outers on it. The base of the pad that comes down with the ground's got a nice white clean surface on it. The foam in the pad doesn't soak up any water if you're putting it down on damp ground or anything like that. The inside of the pad stays nice and dry. If you get it muddy on it, you can just wipe the mud off afterwards. This version of the pad is the hinge version. The Guts is the hinge version. It's got these really nice big Velcro tabs on the hinge, so when you do unfold the mat, they kind of Velcro together. And it makes it feel really solid when you land on it. You don't feel any sense of there being a hinge there when you land on it. There's no... I've landed on some hinge pads which kind of close up on you if you land right in the middle of them, but there's none of that with this. This Velcro really locks it into place. And I think the depth of the pad, the fact it's such a thick pad, also helps keep it together and make it feel nice and like one uniform pad when you're landing on it. The advantage of the hinged system, or the reason why we chose the hinge system over a taco folding pad for us, is because our pads live in the van all the time, and it's much easier to store a hinged pad because you don't have to unfold it. A taco folded pad should be stored unfolded, which is a bit of a pain when you're in the van, so this one's much easier for storage. One of the other things that's really important for me in choosing a bouldering pad is how you carry it. There's no point having a really fancy pad that's super uncomfortable to carry, so I wanted one that was really comfortable to carry. And I tend to carry quite a lot of stuff, so I wanted one with a good waist strap as well. So this has a nice system. You've got two good, strong, padded shoulder straps and a nice waist strap that you can tighten up and take some of the weight off your shoulders with. These straps, they do all come out. They have given you a little sleeve at the base of the pad. You can tuck the straps into, which gets it out of the way. So if you do have to put it down in a really muddy puddle or something, you can at least get most of the straps off, although you're still left with little bits which would be against you. One little niggle we've had with this pad is the waist strap's nice and comfortable and it's easy to do up, hook it together and pull it tight. I'm not the chunkiest of people, but I have to do the waist strap all the way up to the limit of the strap to get it to go tight enough for me, which is fine. So that goes up and it takes all my weight and it's tight enough for me. But if you're smaller, so for example Sophie can't use the waist strap on this pad because it doesn't go small enough for her waist. I mean, it would be a pretty simple fix because this hook is in the webbing. It would be quite simple to just either stitch it back and make a smaller hook system, but it'd be nice if they offered it maybe in the next version, either shorten this or put in 2 loop options or something, so you got choices on where you put the clip into. If you're really skinny, test out the waist strap, check it fits, but I think it'll fit most people. So what makes this pad so interesting or kind of different from a lot of the other pads you see on the market is the technology that they've packed inside the pad. So most traditional bouldering pads, you have one thin layer of hard foam and then some soft foam underneath. The hard foam distributes the load when you land on the mat, and then the soft foam absorbs the impact as it goes down. But what they've done inside this mat, which is really clever, is they've still got the hard foam that distributes the impact, but then underneath that they've got these sort of foam air cells, which are the cubes made up within the pad. Wrap the cubes in a fabric and put small air ventilation holes within those, so when you land on the pad, that air is expelled, but it's expelled in a controlled manner. So by making it a really soft foam but allowing the air to escape in a controlled way, what it does is it absorbs the impact in a different way than a traditional bouldering pad, and makes for a really comfortable landing. So even if you're taking a really big fall from a big highball, when you land on the pad, because only so much air can escape at one time, it still doesn't bottom out, you don't hit the floor through the pad. But if you take quite a small fall, if you're really close to the pad, you still get a nice cushioning effect, because again the air is coming out all at the same rate. It kind of gives you a nice landing whatever height you're falling on. A lot of pads with the standard normal construction, they're either so stiff so that when you land on them from really high they can take that impact, but then if you land on them when you're quite close, they're really hard, or they're really soft, so when you land on them when you're quite close, they feel nice and absorb it, but when you land on it from a really big height, it just bottoms out and you end up compressing the whole pad and hitting the floor underneath it, essentially. So this technology is really clever at how it absorbs the impact, and it does give a nice landing when you're falling off the big blocks particularly. The other interesting thing about this, because they are cubes within the pad, they've actually made it so that you can take the pad apart and you can rearrange the cubes. So as we all know, the area on a bouldering pad that takes the most wear is the central section. So if these cubes start to lose some of their rebound or some of their absorbing properties, you can just take those two out and then move them to a different section of the pad and move in some fresh cubes, and the whole pad should last a lot longer, which is a nice touch to be able to actually almost regenerate your own pad and to move the bits around so that it lasts a lot longer. One of the other things about this construction is the pad's only really designed to be used in one way. So some bouldering pads have had sort of triple layer, so hard foam, soft foam and then hard foam. So you could effectively use them either way up, which often made them quite good to fold over the edges of rocks. But obviously this isn't going to work that well in that kind of orientation, because all of the soft foam is at the back of the pad. It's just something else to think about when how you might be using your pad. Obviously this construction does come with a few downsides. One of them is it's a much thicker pad, so you have got a little bit more bulk that you're carrying around. Also with the burly fabrics and the thicker construction, it's not the lightest of pads, but I've still found it fairly comfortable to carry, and it is still lighter than some of the other big pads on the market. The other thing is the price. It's not a cheap pad, it's around the £300 mark, but there's more expensive pads out there. What I think though is that it's going to last a long time, and for me, I like buying a good quality product knowing it's going to last a long amount of time and it's going to look after me. Buying a cheap pad that's going to go soft after 6 months, after a year's use, and it's more likely that I'm going to injure my knees from a big impact or an ankle or something like that. I'd rather spend a little bit more money, have a really good pad that's going to last a lot longer and is going to look after my joints a lot better. So for me, this pad was totally worth it. I hope you found this little review useful. If you've got any questions about the Snap Pad or what we think about it or any of the other little features on it, then feel free to drop us a question in the comments and we will do our best to answer those. For us, yeah, we really like it. Works well, it's built to last, a bit pricey, but we think it's worth it, and yeah, it's been working really well for us. So hope you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.